Hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day and weekend as well. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. So today we are here to talk about what went on over the weekend, and if you guys I'm sure are aware, it was RuneFest, and more importantly in my eyes, the announcements of RuneFest, what's to come in the game, and my opinions on this stuff in general. I always like kind of talking about the new stuff that's coming into the game because it's just a fun topic. Oftentimes you have a lot of clashing ideas as far as what people want in the game, what they don't, so I always love to hear what you guys have to say on that. With that said, obviously a lot was released over the weekend at RuneFest in regards to what we can expect in the coming year. So let's hop into the news post. I'm going to try to keep it short. I just did a segment over the first part and it took me 11 minutes. So I'm going to try again. Let's go. So I'll be going in chronological order starting from the top. If you want to follow along, I'll have stuff on screen as well, obviously. And basically what the beginning of this news post is an improvement on the Kurend area, which makes sense because it's kind of been something in the game that, we always kind of wonder what they're going to add on. It's like an open book for old school. So the news post starts off with a farming guild, and this farming guild is split up into 3 tiers, so you'll need different levels to get into different tiers, which is a little bit interesting. And ultimately what you can do here is you can plant almost any type of allotment in the game. In addition to that, the newer ones and the added plants that are coming into the game can also be planted there. Some things of note I would say would be that there is a bottomless compost bucket, but that is actually dropped from a demi-boss for farming, which is, it's a little different, ever since farming got winter tie, it seems like anything can kind of get a skilling boss now. I don't know how against that I am. It's not really a bad thing. It's just an alternative way to train, I guess, that allows for a bit more bossing for those for those that enjoy it. I don't see it really as all that bad of a thing. As I was saying though, the demi-boss drops a bottomless compost bucket where you can just load it with compost, and I don't know if people are going to really care that much about it. Just keeping some compost out of your inventory isn't too big of a deal, I don't think. And then there's a lot talked about new plants coming into the game, some stuff going off the Nightmare Zone table like potato cactuses and snape grass, and overall what just looks like some helpful plants in regards to farming. After that, the Zaya updates go towards a new Slayer Master, and this master, while I thought originally would be like a new high-end Slayer Master, is more of a medium to high-end Slayer Master. It isn't the best, but it offers up some strange stuff. So this Slayer Master is more based around fighting certain monsters in certain areas and will offer you some regular loot with increased chance at better drops to sustain yourself, along with a couple rare ones. The main rare drop coming in being the Dragon Hasta, which isn't all too extreme in the case of updates to the game, I guess. And with the new Slayer Master, we also have new creatures and a new dungeon coming into the games. Now, I'm not sure what all from this news post is pretty much set in stone and what they're going to pull. I would hope they pull a lot of it, but I'm not exactly sure. I'll be talking as if they are putting this stuff into the game. So the 4 Slayer monsters, 2 of them are more medium level with not a whole lot to talk about other than that they're going to be added, I guess. And then there are 2 higher level ones, one at 84 and one at 95 Slayer. The 84 dropping a couple things like the Boots of Brimstone and the Devout Boots that are add-ons to what we already have and don't seem to do a whole lot in regards of changing metas. I couldn't see myself really using either of these items much at all, but obviously for more med-level players it might be viable. In that 95 we have the Hydra, which actually brings in a lot of items. So the first drop of note from the Hydra is the Brimstone Ring, where basically the ring itself is a combined form of 3 drops that you can get from the Hydra, and this makes pretty much what is a all-encompassing DK's ring. To that I would ask, I don't see mention of it here, but I'm assuming you could imbue this ring, and if that's true, then this is the best ring in the game. If it's not, then it's still a decent ring in the fact that it has everything in it already and would be good for, something where you need to hybrid, like Demonic Gorillas or Zora, I guess, if you're looking for one ring switch. And I think it's a pretty good addition overall. I don't see anything too wrong with that. Then next we have the Bone Crusher necklace, which is basically using the Dragon Bone necklace on something else to allow us to be able to get the boost of the Bone Crusher. Useful, but still I don't know how useful prayer bonus necessarily is in the game. And then finally we have pretty much 2 things which may be a little bit more controversial. The first being the Dragon Hunter Lance, which is basically the Dragon Hunter crossbow but in form of a Zamorak Hasta. So should be pretty interesting to see how that works in the game, and definitely will have some uses. And then after that, we have the Ferocious Gloves, which are basically the best in slot melee glove, but only for melee and if you don't care too much about defense, because there are no defensive boosts. Really, I think that this is a slight upgrade over the Barrows glove, so it's not a massive deal, but I did always think that while the Barrows gloves are cool and while I do like them, I think it's a bit strange that you can get a best in slot gear piece through questing. So it'll be interesting to see how the community takes those rewards, and then from there, the only last thing that they really talk about in regards to Kourend is a new fishing method, which combines a little bit of fishing and hunter, and then the diaries, which I didn't see too much in the diaries that are that much of use, but there are some helpful pieces there if you want to take a look. So now for what is probably the more controversial part of this video, and I guess just part of the updates in general, and that is the proposed new skill in old school RuneScape. As many of you know, we haven't had a new skill since the release, so 5 years strong, no new skill, and one is being offered up now. As you can imagine, a lot of thoughts there. So the new proposed skill is warding, and warding is meant to be a lot like what crafting and smithing are currently, in regards to smithing making melee gear, crafting making range gear, and warding making mage gear. There's currently no way to make most mage gear in the game. You either get it through drops, buying it from a shop. So this is meant to kind of fill that gap. And as far as a logical skill within the game, I think it makes a ton of sense. You know, I mean, just I think it has a clear void that it's filling, and so I'm not really against it in that regard. Now, as far as how you go about training the skill, basically there is a necessity for raw materials. You can get these in the form of, you know, going through Hunter to get the particular raw material you may need. You may be doing combat, or you may be doing a skill like farming. Now from there, once you have the raw materials, you'll have to go and gather energy from these certain obelisks amongst the game, and after that you can combine the energy and the raw materials to then make gear. In addition to that, some things that have been said around warding is that you can decompose certain gear, mostly the mage gear that you make from it, I would imagine. And along with that, they've added ideas of maybe doing a couple high-end, or I guess a more high-end mage tank armors, but from what I was understanding, it still won't be best in slot mage armor, so just more med to high level content there. And then along with that, you could imbue rings and do a lot more imbues from Nightmare Zone rather than having the main way of imbuing stuff be through Nightmare Zone. So that's the rundown on warding, the general overview of it. They've given us about 30 levels, level 1 through 30, of which, you know, we can have a general idea of what we could make. But past that, it's a lot of, you know, fill in the blanks on your own. And to that, I say it's hard to judge this skill so far because I really can't think of what all they could put in there to make the skill entertaining. The skill itself and the way you go about training the skill, I think, is a little bit more inventive in the sense that it isn't just one constant running trip all the time. You do have to go gather energy, you do have to go get biobles, or you can gather the biobles on your own. And then you have to put them together. There's steps to it, and I think it makes it kind of an individual skill that not a lot of other ones are like. So I do like that aspect of it, and I think it does fill a logical void in the game. The only problem I have as of right now, and I don't really think it's fair to be that upset with it, is I don't see how this could necessarily be all that useful for higher levels in that skill. You know, once you get beyond 40 to 50 and once you're more in the range of higher combat, if a couple mage tank armors and imbues to certain Nightmare Zone things are the best to offer, I don't really think that that's worth it. But I would believe that Jagex would have more to come with that, and they just haven't flushed it all out yet, or just don't want to explain it all to us at the moment. If that's the case, I'm perfectly fine with warding being the new skill added to old school RuneScape. I think that it's, you know, it has a decent standing within old school RuneScape, and I can see it being something that could make the game decently fun going forward with the addition of a new skill. Now, whenever we talk about adding a new skill, there's always what skills were left out in not being the newest skill. Some people mentioned sailing, which has always been a rumored one. I don't personally think sailing would be all too crazy, but there is that. The two main ones that come to mind, and I'm guessing they do for most, that aren't the new skill, or I guess aren't yet, are dungeoneering and summoning, both skills of which were in RS3, and I played heavily while those skills were prevalent. So I'll say for summoning, I actually wouldn't mind if summoning was the first skill in old school RuneScape if it was reworked. There were a lot of strange things with summoning that just made summoning way too OP for certain things in the game, and I think if they were reworked and scaled back a lot, you'd be able to have summoning be a decent standing skill in old school RuneScape. And then dungeoneering, honestly, is one that I guess if I had to pick out of my favorites of what isn't, I would pick dungeoneering. I think that it is a skill that is relatively fun, and I think it's a whole new way to play the game because it's just an entirely different environment, an entirely different game. And then you can work whatever rewards you want to put into the game out of dungeoneering. You know, any weapons, any prayers, anything like that, any skilling stuff. I mean, you can pretty much make dungeoneering the way to flow in a lot of rewards, which I think is a pretty useful part of having dungeoneering in a game. But yeah, I'm not entirely against having warding come into the game, and I'd be interested to see what you guys have to say as well. With that, though, that isn't the end of the news post. There also is a new Elves quest that is coming into the game, which is much needed as that western part of the map has been little explored in the time that I've played old school RuneScape. So I'm interested as far as how that will all work out, and I'm happy for the Elves that they finally have a new update coming their way. Much deserved on their part. So yeah, that is it for me going over the old school RuneScape releases from RuneFest. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully you guys enjoyed my commentary on the subjects. If you guys have anything you'd wish to share, obviously do so down below. If you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to support the channel, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you guys do have a wonderful day, and bye!